or that elegant night on the town. For reservations or to view the menu, visit TallulahRestaurant.com. That's TallulahRestaurant.com.
Insurance companies have teams of professionals to fight your claim. If you want to know what your case is really worth, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to check out LSU Daily, presented by Tecovas. It's a daily podcast covering all things LSU. If you want news, headlines, topics, and opinions on the LSU Tigers, we got you covered every single weekday on LSU Daily, presented by Tecovas.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. That means we're brought to you by Pluckers Wing Bar, Alondra Villarreal, back there on 1. I totally blanked on your name. How pitiful is that? Jordan Kitchens back there on number 2. Just one of those days, I suppose. It is. I mean, look, he's been here for 2 weeks, and I've known his name for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I went to say it, and it just didn't show up. But it eventually came. It just needed.
It's good.
I needed an extra 4 seconds.
The chemistry's building. But
he's back there on the video side of things, and we're glad you're with us here on this Tuesday. Here's some sound from Brian Kelly coming up in 15 minutes. I want to talk defensive line with LSU. Glenn West going to be with us at 1:30 talking LSU baseball. I got some NFL draft thoughts at the top of hour number 2. Jay Johnson had his coach's show yesterday. We'll get to some of that in hour number 2. Sharif Ishak in his normal spot talking Saints and Pels as well. Going to start with last night's college basketball final, which, look, it was the matchup we all wanted to see. Certainly the matchup I wanted to see. These were the best two teams really all year long, and I felt like, as of yesterday, that UConn was the best team. And on the show yesterday, I said, I hope it's a great game, but I feel like UConn may separate with 7 or 8 minutes to go. And it was actually with about 10 or 11 minutes to go, they kind of put their foot on the gas and went. It's interesting because I said yesterday that I thought that UConn was one of the rare teams that could really deal with Zach Edey one-on-one and wouldn't have to manipulate what they were going to do defensively. And that's rare, because not a lot of teams have a Klingon that can be athletic and 7'2" and deal with the beast that is Zach Edey. And it turns out that he couldn't really deal with Zach Edey. Edey dominated the first 20 minutes of this game. He was sensational. But Danny Hurley had very clearly communicated a game plan to his team. And as tough as it probably was to stick to it, they stuck to it, and it worked beautifully. They did what I said last week that NC State needed to do, which is Edey's going to score 25 points no matter what. If you send an army at him or if you send one guy at him, that's not the backbreaker. What breaks your back is when everybody else gets involved. And UConn very clearly said, we're not doubling. We're not going to send a lot of digs. We're just going to play him straight up and make sure that nobody on the perimeter gets going. And nobody on the perimeter got going. And Edey got his 37 points in a pretty efficient 37 points. 15 of 25, 7 of 10 from the line, grabbed 10 rebounds, but nobody else did anything. And you saw in some of the post-game stories that came out, some of the interviews that were done with assistants for UConn that said, we looked at their offensive efficiency numbers, and we determined, like, when Edey's really good, that's pretty standard stuff. They reach another level when Edey's good, but everybody else is involved as well, and they start hitting those threes. We know Purdue was a top 5 3-point shooting team in the country really all season long. The players not named Zach Edey for Purdue last night, 9 of 29 from the floor. That is 31%. 1 of 7 from 3. I just said top 5 3-point shooting team in the country. Not only did they not make a lot of shoot, they didn't even shoot a lot of threes. They shot 7 of them. Everyone outside of Zach Edey shot 5 total free throws. Only one player on Purdue's team had an assist last night. One. Braden Smith was it. Nobody else registered an assist on the night. Edey scored 37. The rest of his team scored 23. Edey had 10 rebounds. The rest of his team had 18. Edey had 2 blocks. Nobody else on the team. Well, they had 1 other block. It was like no one else on Purdue's roster showed up. And that's because UConn is elite defensively, and they refuse to compromise their defense on the other 4 players to deal with Edey. So what if he scores 42? If nobody else scores more than 6, we're going to be in good shape. And that's what happened. And it had to be difficult if you're a UConn player, and certainly if you're Danny Hurley, to watch Zach Edey get off to the start that he did and say, no, we're not going to double. We're not going to send extra guys. We'll rotate Klingon out a little bit. We'll get him a little bit of help with Johnson off the bench, but we're gonna stick to our plan here. And it worked. And Danny Hurley deserves so much credit for that. It was just a clinic from coaching. It's when LSU's playing or when the Cubs are playing, I don't have a lot of time to worry about game plan or how beautiful this or that is. I'm just trying to win. I'm locked in emotionally on how does my team win. But when you can step back and be an unbiased spectator and just watch, it was so clear what UConn was doing, and it was so clear how well it was working. And that's really fun to watch as a sports fan. Yeah, I wish it was not a 15-point game. I wish it came down to the last possession. I wish it was Villanova cannon a 3 at the buzzer to win it. That's more exciting as a viewer to watch. But I took my pleasure last night in watching this game going, this is a freaking clinic. Purdue is really, really, really good. But they're not good enough to deal with this. And that's why UConn has gone through 2 NCAA tournaments and won every game by double figures. That is almost impossible. In this day and age where rosters are turning over so violently year after year after year, where the sport is older than it's ever been because you still had guys with COVID years playing, you figure at some point you're going to get a haymaker from somebody. You've got to squeak by somebody. Not this UConn group. 2 years in a row, just a freight train through this entire thing. And this wasn't one of those deals where they showed up and Florida Gulf Coast was there, or they showed up and there's George Mason. No, this was the second team. This was the other group of dudes. And it was really not a contest for the last 8 minutes of basketball. UConn just too good. And I thought maybe as fascinating as the game was the post game and what Danny Hurley was saying, whether it was at the podium, whether it was in the press conference afterward. It sounded to me like that's a guy who is not leaving Connecticut for Kentucky. That's what it sounded like to me. We've got all the resources we need. I'm talking about a dynasty. It seemed like he was almost talking towards Kentucky. And I said yesterday, little birdie told me that Kentucky was already positioning itself with Danny Hurley. And I have reason to believe that is the case. But he's got a pretty good gig. Now, could he use them to pry another $1.5 million annually from UConn? Probably. And could he decide, hey, I'm going to go to the place with all the toys instead of the place with enough toys? UConn's clearly got enough toys. 6 championships in 25 years, 3 different coaches. That's incredible. I said on the postgame show on the LSU Sports Radio Network, seated in the Superdome in January of 2020 after the confetti and fall and LSU had won, I said, look, the thing that's great about this is now 3 head coaches in a row that have won a championship. This is not one guy one coach that comes in and completely changes everything, and who knows what happens when he leaves. This is because of the great energy, passion, talent, and resources in the state of Louisiana. Anybody can come in here and get this thing rolling. And you've got to say the same thing for UConn. Obviously, Jim Calhoun did it for a long, long time. But Kevin Ollie came in and caught fire. And now Danny Hurley's done this twice. And another parallel with LSU here, if you switch sports, is Skip never lost that title game. He went 5-0. And then Maneri won his first title series. It wasn't until 2017 that LSU had lost in the title game. And UConn's men have never lost in the title game. That's incredible stuff. And when you look at blue bloods in the sport of college basketball, you go to Duke and Kansas, you go to Carolina and Kentucky. I think you still got to go to UCLA. But you can't have a discussion at this point about the elite programs in the history of college basketball and not bring up UConn really quickly. And we'll see if Duke rekindles it with the next guy. Kentucky's proven they can. Carolina's proven they can. It was Dean Smith and it was Roy Williams. Duke's kind of Mike Krzyzewski. But he was there so long, you give him his flowers. You put them in the discussion. But UConn to do it with 3 different coaches like LSU football, like that's a heck of a deal. It was impressive to watch them last night, and it's impressive that they come out every single night and they just don't have an off night. They're just good from the tip to the finish, and they usually can come off the gas with about 10 minutes to go. Congrats to UConn. Incredible performance in that game last night. It was fun to watch those guys all tournament long. It's been fun to watch them for a couple of years. I don't think Kentucky's getting Danny Hurley. Won't shock me if they do, but I think they're going to have to go to the next guy on the list because that sounded to me like a guy who's planning on hanging out in Connecticut for a while. Hat tip to Purdue as well. Greatest season in the history of the school. Zach Edey is a legend, but not enough for the Huskies last night. All right, Tuesday show is brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. I'll be at Plucker's tonight. Sports trivia at 8:30. We'll have you out of there by about 10. You can come on by, watch some LSU baseball as they play McNeese, get some delicious chicken wings, some awesome cold beer, and win some Plucker's gift cards at Plucker's Sports Trivia. Always a good time on Tuesdays, and Plucker's brings you our Tuesday shows each and every week. When we come back, Brian Kelly Sound. We'll talk a little defensive line. I know it's a big problem. It didn't look the way I expected it to when I went down into the numbers, though, earlier today. We'll talk about it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. Go to the website. I invite you to do that every single day. OneBathAndClosets.com. You got a spot right there at the top to request a free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything for David Duvall and his team to come out and just explore what they might be able to do for you in your bathroom or in your closet. You can also read testimonials from satisfied customers. You can see pictures of their great work. That's something I always enjoy is looking through pictures that David Duvall has of the great things that they've done. It's going to be perfectly functional and customized to your needs, but it's also going to look great. They can promise you that. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. That means they're not going to hurry through your project so they can get to the next one, collect your check, and get on down the road. 3 weeks later, something's not right. They got to come back and fix it. That's not going to happen with One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Request that free consultation. Start that process with David and his team right now. Financing options are available if you're intimidated by potential pricing, but you won't know unless you check it out. Check them out at onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal.
Charles Hannegriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill, Lee at Nicholson. Scott Rabelais joins us from the Masters, plus we'll hear from Wes Reynolds and Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Glenn West from Go 24/7 with us in 15 minutes talking LSU football and baseball. Right now, we're going to talk some LSU football. Spring winding down. They'll play the spring game Saturday inside Tiger Stadium. And by now, the spring storylines have been very well dissected. We've discussed them. I think everyone's kind of on the same page with what's gone on over the last 6 weeks on the Ponderosa. And one of those prevailing themes is LSU's issues on the defensive line. You've brought in Bo Davis. You feel like he's the guy to help fix it, but it's not going to be an instant thing. I think an exercise that I did earlier this morning that was a little bit revealing to me was putting down the entirety of the depth chart on LSU's defensive line. You know that the depth is not great. However, it's a little bit better in terms of just numbers than I thought, just kind of off the top of my head. I could go through and name you the defensive linemen that I thought were going to be players on this team coming forward. But they have more defensive linemen than I thought. The issue is somewhat depth to me, but the bigger issue is I don't know that they've got the high-end talent that great LSU teams have had. In fact, I know they don't. Because I've got 13 guys written down on this sheet of paper here that are defensive linemen on LSU's team. Now, that's not enough, but it's not like they don't have any warm bodies. On the outside, you've got Deshaun Womack, you've got Savion Jones, you've got Paris Shand, who can play inside or outside, you've got Braden Swinson, you've got Gabe Relaford, you've got Dylan Carpenter. That's 6 guys who play on the edge. On the inside, you've got Jacobian Guillory, you've got Jalen Lee, you've got Sean Washington, you brought in Gio Paez as a transfer, Dominic McKinley, Preston Hickey, the Oklahoma State transfer, Demarion Johnson, who's a freshman. That's 7 guys in the interior right there. It's not like they don't have anybody, but the production from this group of guys is nearly zero at the college level. Last year, Deshaun Womack made 13 tackles, 1.5 behind the line of scrimmage. Last year, Savion Jones, in what I hope to be his breakout year, made 33 tackles. He had 2.5 sacks, 3.5 TFLs. That's not super productive. Paris Shand, limited playing time last year, had 17 tackles. He did have 5 TFLs, which is encouraging. He had 2 sacks. He didn't play a ton, but the production was not huge. Braden Swinson was out on the field a lot, just 35 tackles over the course of the season, 6.5 TFLs, 2 sacks. And you got Gabe Relaford and Dylan Carpenter who haven't played. Jacobian Guillory's kind of been a career backup. Not kind of been, he's been a career backup. Last year he made 27 tackles and nothing behind the line of scrimmage, no sacks, no tackles for loss. Jalen Lee made 2 tackles last year. I mean, those are probably, as we sit here today, your top 2 defensive tackles. Jacobian Guillory and Jalen Lee, they combined for 29 tackles and nothing behind the line of scrimmage last year. Both fourth-year players. Sean Washington, junior college. Gio Paez made 23 stops last year for Wisconsin. He had a half a tackle for loss. No sacks. Dominic McKinley was in high school. Demarion Johnson was in high school. Preston Hickey didn't play last year. Didn't record a stat. Like, you look at the guys that you've got on the interior. Yeah, there are 7 of them. They've totaled it last year for LSU 0.5 tackles for loss. In fact, that one was at Wisconsin. That's Gio Paez. Total. Like 7 defensive tackles is enough. But you don't have guys that are ready to be LSU level SEC defensive tackles. You just don't. Now, Brian Kelly spoke on Saturday about the production of Jacobian Guillory and about how he's come along, because you lose Mason Smith, you lose Mekhi Wingo, and he was kind of the next man up after Jordan Jefferson. And so Kelly spoke to the development of Jacobian Guillory.
In terms of stopping the run, Jacobian Guillory has been outstanding. I mean, he's singularly been, I think, in terms of what Bo Davis is looking for, he's been outstanding, and he's been a stalwart. We got to find the other guy, and that's what we're looking for. We're trying to develop that second guy, and then we'll have some depth guys behind him.
So the second guy, like, is it Jalen Lee? My hope is that Sean Washington is that guy. That's a former 4-star recruit, good enough to sign at Georgia. My hope, but it sounds like he's got a ways to go. Gio Paez played on the edge most of the time for Wisconsin. They're going to hope to move him inside. He was on Matt Moscona's show after further review after me a couple weeks ago when he committed and said, yeah, I'm going to play inside. And so that's something he wants to do in a 4-down front. But that's not something he has done. I don't know how much you can count on Dominic McKinley to go in there and play as a freshman. That seems like a lot. They've got to find somebody in the transfer portal. If you can find an average SEC body, to talk about wins above replacement in baseball, and you're comparing it to the average, if you can find me an average starter, I don't need him first team all league. I don't need him to be the 18th pick in the next draft. I'm not looking for Glenn Dorsey here. If you can find an average player, I think it changes how the defense looks. I really do. I don't know if there's going to be an elite level player you can grab. Now, Bear Alexander, former 5-star, transferred to USC, played pretty well last year. Sounds like he's going in the transfer portal. So maybe that is a high-level impact guy, and there's somebody like that you can find. That story's to be told because the transfer portal window is not open yet. But if Guillory comes on and has a better year and you can find another average guy, I'll feel better about the makeup of the defense. Right now, I'm concerned the team's just going to turn around and hand it right off and run right outfield. Like, that's what this group of names looks like to me. And that's the biggest issue, is stopping the run. If you can't stop the run, you got no chance. Because there's nothing easier for an offense to do than turn around, hand the ball off, and get 8 yards. Like, you'll never stop anybody. You've got to find a way to hold up against the run. The pass rush would be the next thing to come. And look, I'm looking at Deshaun Womack, a sack and a half last year. Does he have a huge leap from year 1 to year 2? Savion Jones, 2.5 sacks. Can we expect him to post 8 or 9? It doesn't feel like that. Parashand had 2 sacks. Braden Swinson had 2 sacks. I don't know where the pass rush is going to come from. I know that Blake Baker prioritizes that. He wants to create that. The question is, like, how do you do it? And Brian Kelly spoke to LSU's pass rush on Saturday.
You know, when we talk about the defensive line, you're talking about a combination of whether it's third down and we have our third down pass rushers in there. Because I don't know if you saw in one instance, you know, we've moved, you know, Braden Swinson inside. You know, we've got Paris Shand inside. And then you've got on the edge, you know, you've got Womack on the edge. You've got Harold on the edge. I mean, you've got a different configuration. And I think we can be really dynamic with some of the defensive line time in moving the pieces around. And I think that's what we're going to be doing. I think on first and second down, we're going to have to really work hard in getting after the quarterback on first and second down. But the pass rush is coming from a combination of ends and, kind of that drop position being moved inside.
You know how I feel about press conferences. I don't really care what you say. I just want results. You can handle the press however you want. You can tell half-truths. You can out-and-out lie. You can be very forthcoming. None of that bothers me on either way because the goal number one is to win. But that quote right there, that felt honest. Like that felt like exactly the page that the staff is on. We understand that the guys we have on the inside are not super dynamic and aren't going to add a ton of pass rush. Like that's just not Jacoby and Guillory's game. Jalen Lee's not going to become that in his 4th, 5th year in college. Yeah, we're not going to be super dynamic on the interior at rushing the passer. But what we can do is when we force teams into obvious passing downs, we can get creative and use our talent in a way that maybe can affect the passer. You put some better pass rushers on the inside in Paris Shand and Braden Swinson, who were a little slipperier than your 310, 320-pound defensive tackles. We can bring Harold Perkins down and put him in a spot that we know he can excel in. Deshaun Womack can take the next step as that former 5-star edge rusher. Now, you got to get him in those situations. You've got to get into 3rd and 8, which is going to be tough. But that's the creative things that you can do if you can stop the run early or force some incompletions early. That sounds a little more encouraging to me. I think we're all pretty concerned with what this defensive line is going to be. You ask any LSU fan, what's the biggest concern that you have about this LSU team? If they don't say just defense as a whole, it starts defensive line. And it's a little bit better in terms of numbers than I thought just off the top of my head. But the talent level is not where the elite LSU teams generally are. Now, maybe Bo Davis, as the first real defensive line coach to get to work with these guys in 3 years, can do a little bit more developing than we saw the last 2 years. Maybe. You've had a tough situation there with Jimmy Lindsey getting sick and trying to bring in Pete Jenkins. You're moving John Jancic around. You know that story as well. And Bo Davis brings stability to that group. I don't know how much he can get out of these guys, but it'll likely go a long way in determining what LSU's final record is this year based on whether or not they're the worst defensive front in the SEC or right, very solidly middle of the road. And if you can get that out of them, I think LSU will be in pretty good shape. We'll see what the transfer portal holds, and we'll see what they can do on Saturday in the spring game. But that's just kind of my look at LSU's defensive front for the spring game and into the 2024 season. If you're looking for LSU football content, we've been talking about it for 6 weeks here, just about every day. You can check us out on YouTube. Hunt on LSU is where you can find our LSU content. Hunt on LSU. If you subscribe up to that channel, we would certainly appreciate it. We'll talk a little bit more football with Glenn West. We'll also touch on the baseball Tigers as they take on McNeese tonight at Alec Box. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. They do whole home audio. Get those speakers put in the kitchen so you can listen to some tunes or us while you're cooking. Get that sound system put in outside by the pool or by the grill where you start spending some time as the spring weather rolls in. And get that surround sound. So it's the best place to watch the game right there at your house with the surround sound and the gorgeous TV mounted by the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. They do video surveillance. They do television installation, whole home audio. If you want to get super fancy with it, they do voice automation too. You can walk into the living room and say, hey, watch a movie. It'll dim the lights. It'll turn the TV on. It'll crank the surround sound up. You can get real fancy with stuff over there at Audio Video Security Solutions. Mitchell Fisher, the owner over there, is an awesome dude. Really, really knowledgeable and helped us through the entire process at our home. I would invite you to do the exact same. Give him a call, 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920, or visit him online, Audio Video Security Solutions at avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. LSU back on the practice field. We'll get you football practice report. And baseball Tigers trying to get right against McNeese. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You gotta keep them separated.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
I don't know if I would classify it as breaking news, but development on the John Calipari front, as he has just posted a video to his Twitter feed, sitting on his couch at home in a blue quarter zip, addressing Big Blue Nation, saying that it is time for a new voice at the University of Kentucky, time for a new representative of the university and the basketball program, so that he is going to step away completely. He adds that, that other opportunities have been presented and that his family is talking them over, and he loves coaching. I didn't get to watch the entire video. It's like 3.5 minutes, and we didn't have time in the break. But basically, he's saying, I'm out of here, and we will obviously expect him to be announced as the head coach at Arkansas here very, very shortly. So I may talk about a little bit more about that as the show goes on. But want to keep things LSU-centric here, and that's why we bring in our guy, Glenn West from Go 24/7, to talk all things Tigers, as we do each and every Tuesday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing well, hon. How about yourself?
I am quite well. I'm assuming you'll be inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday for the spring game. What's the first thing you'll be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably just to see these guys in kind of a full scrimmage mode. I mean, we get to see these practices for a couple hours, and they do some team periods, some 11-on-11 stuff, but it's usually always mixed in with a lot of individual drills, a lot of position work, and so I think getting to see, first team on first team, second team on first team, however they want to, write it up and just kind of see the rotations that they kind of go throughout the course of the afternoon, that kind of thing. Look, we've all seen these spring games before. We know they're not going to, show us the whole playbook, but I think that you'll get a good sense of kind of the identity or the trajectory that they would like to go on both sides of the ball. And I'll just be very interested to see just kind of who kind of settles themselves in as the first teamers. I think we have a pretty good idea of that based on the consistency that they've shown so far this spring. But those are just, a few things that I'll be watching for sure.
As we look forward to the season, not necessarily the spring game, how much is realistic to expect from Gabe Relaford and Dominic McKinley in their first year? We understand the depth issues and really the talent issues on the defensive line. Those guys are super talented, but they're also super young.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you want to, unless they're ready, you don't want to put too much on their plate early in their careers. And, look for a guy like Relaford. He's been there this spring. He's been able to develop in the program for a little bit, but he's clearly behind the Paris Shans, the Savion Joneses of the world, who I think are getting most of those first-team reps at defensive end. So, I think probably the more immediate question is if somebody like McKinley can come in and help on the interior. They certainly need the help there right now. It looks like Jacoby and Guillory has one spot kind of locked up right now, and they're still trying to find that second guy. But certainly you bring in a 5-star like McKinley, and you kind of hope that he can adjust pretty quickly. But at the same time, everybody develops at their own pace, and we'll just have to wait and see if those guys are ready to kind of contribute here right off the bat.
How big an impact can Bo Davis make in year one?
Yeah, look, I think he's going to earn every penny of his contract this year with the way things are right now. I think we'll really get a good sense of the impact that somebody like Bo Davis can have here really in the next couple of weeks when the portal window opens here, and how aggressive LSU is expected to be in adding a couple more transfer defensive linemen. I'll be very interested to see just kind of who they target, and kind of the name brand that Bo Davis kind of brings with him. I mean, I think there's, a general consensus here that he's one of, if not the top developer of talent, one of the top recruiters along the defensive line in the entire country. So if there's somebody out there, or if there's a couple players out there that see, his name and LSU and the opportunity to play right away, I'll be very interested to see just kind of who they are able to reel in out of the portal. I think it's a destiny spot for LSU for a lot of these transfer players, especially interior D linemen that feel like they can play and play for a team that wants to compete at the highest level.
What's the most interesting position on the offense?
In terms of like addition?
No, for the spring game, or for the spring that you in terms of watching that side of the ball.
Yeah, I would say probably receiver. They've settled in on the rotation of about 6 guys that I feel like all could make pretty huge impacts next year. You talk about Kyron Lacey, Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, Xavion Thomas, CJ Daniels, Kyle Parker. Those are kind of the top 6 that we've seen rotate a lot with the first group. Some more than others, of course, but those guys are all electric playmakers. And I think the one thing that we are starting to learn a little bit about this offense is that they're going to spread it around a lot. We were actually just talking with Kyron Lacey today. He talked about, he's not only had the breakout spring that I think many were hoping for, but he's saying, a lot of these guys it's like a different guy every day. On Saturday, it was Xavion Thomas who had a really big day at practice. He said there's been some days where CJ's really stood out. There's been some days where they've really been targeting Aaron Anderson a lot in spring games. So just how they incorporate these weapons and these receivers and how they're trying to do things a little bit differently in the offensive structure. I think that's probably one of the position groups I'm going to be focusing in on pretty heavily.
Chatting with Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7. All your football coverage, all your baseball coverage, all your basketball coverage, recruiting coverage, they got you covered over there at Go 24/7. All right, let's shift to baseball, Glenn. Are they going to make the NCAA tournament?
Look, the way this team's playing right now, they'd be lucky to make the SEC tournament. It's just kind of the nature of where things are at. It's unfortunate to say this, but they just have not played very good baseball here in conference play. And I know we've talked about kind of the tough stretch of schedule that they had to start conference play, but look, they got Missouri coming up. Missouri just won a series against Florida. They've got A&M, who's the top 7-6 team in the country right now. There's still some really formidable teams here in the back half of the schedule, and what's the realistic goal here that you can kind of shoot for? Can you get to 14, 15 games in conference play? That would mean you have to go 11-7, 12-6 kind of finish here over the next several weeks. And they just haven't shown the consistency part yet that makes me believe that they can do that. Now, we've seen turnarounds, in college baseball. You could really flip it on like a switch, and we could be talking about a very different conversation here in a month's time. But just the way that this kind of has, I guess for lack of better terms, fallen apart on them here over the first 4 weeks of conference play. There's just not a whole lot of optimism, I don't think, at least from an outsider's view, that they're going to be able to flip this around. What's the biggest problem? I think if you look at any game, you could point to any number of different concerns, whether it's bullpen pitching. I mean, I think they really have one guy out of the bullpen right now that you can throw out there and say, hey, that guy can go get me a 0, and that's Griffin Herring. Everybody else, I think it's, kind of TBD in terms of if they can go out there and get you some scoreless, innings. But I think bullpen is certainly a concern. Obviously the situational hitting with guys on base and driving guys in has been a major issue for this team all season long. And then, I think probably the one area here that you kind of wonder about is how much does Jay want to lean into these younger guys going forward? I mean, they've got some really good veterans, or some veterans that are on the roster that maybe aren't kind of living up to what they were hoping. Do you get some of these young guys, these young bats, these young fielders, these young pitchers involved a little bit more consistently over the next couple of weeks and see if your luck might change? I think that's something you have to really consider if you're Jay Johnson. Is Griffin Herring as a starter an option? I think everything has to be an option, and I've been throwing out some extremes. I mean, I think we're getting to the point in the season here where you have to throw away like conventional thinking and kind of go outside the box here with some of your thoughts. And I brought up the whole Gavin Guidry deal, and does it make sense to maybe move him to infield and shortstop and see if he can't be a fielder? I mean, that's a guy that didn't pitch at all this past weekend, and we know kind of the inconsistencies that he's had out of the bullpen this year in limited roles. So, look, I don't think that would happen. I think that's just kind of an example of the kind of extreme line of thinking that they have to go to maybe kind of change their fortune here. But yeah, Griffin Herring as a starter could be another one. But then you take him and who you're going to out of the bullpen that can get you zeros. I mean, there's just nobody else. Just a lot of tough questions right now, and I'm glad I'm not the head coach that has to kind of answer them. I don't know how often y'all speak with the players, but I mean, have you talked to any of the players about how they're feeling right now? I said on my show yesterday, they've got to be shell-shocked that they look up wearing those uniforms and see that record and see the consistent run rules every game 3. I mean, I'm curious what they've said to you. Yeah, so it's been kind of the last couple of weeks. We haven't talked to as many players, especially after losses. But after the win on Thursday against Vandy, I think we got a chance to talk with Jared Jones a little bit, and he just kind of talked about how they're just kind of trying to push through this. They all understand that it's not the standard that they set last year in terms of championship level, but really there's a disconnect, I think, in mindset right now and kind of what it takes to be a consistent winner. And Jared was one of the players that talked about just them needing to really get that fixed quickly, and then they go out and they lose the next 2 games, and it's been really bad vibes, I think, right now just for the program, and you gotta find some good fortune here soon to kind of maybe start turning the tables on your mindset and your concentration and your focus on just what the last 6-7 weeks of this season can be, because I mean they're not in a good spot, but they're technically they're not out of it yet. So they've got some stuff to keep fighting for, keep playing for. We'll just see if they're able to kind of turn the page here and make that happen. Starts in a few hours against McNeese and then up to Knoxville to play a team that hits a lot of home runs. So we'll see how that goes over the weekend. Glenn, we appreciate the time. We'll see you inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday. All right. Thanks, Hunt. Appreciate you.
He's Glenn West, senior writer over there at Go 24/7. All your team coverage as well as recruiting. Glenn's got you covered. He's with us each and every Tuesday. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Get you some Breggie's Creole Crush. Alex Bregman-inspired new sauce over there at Plucker's. Get on by the Nicholson location just south of LSU or the Mall, Louisiana location right there on Blue Bonnet. Take a time out. Come back and close out hour number 1. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bets, ready to take you through all the huge sports moments this spring. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN has it all, including offers from promotions from Scott Van Pelt and Stephen A. Smith. From the playoff intensity to getting out on the links, pretty big one this week, and out to the ballpark, Major League Baseball is up and running. There's no better time to be a sports fan than right now. Sign up today and new users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sports book bet. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best
on Wednesday's OTB. Did the Pelicans manage to get the must win against the Blazers? And did LSU baseball bounce back in the midweek? Plus, continue to get you ready for Saturday's spring game. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here. Tuesday show is brought to you by Pluckers. I talked about this right before we started talking to Glenn, for those who are just jumping in. John Calipari posted a video on his personal Twitter feed, sitting on his couch at home in a blue non-logoed quarter zip, and called Kentucky a dream job. Said it was his dream job. That they've loved their time in Lexington, but it's time. The program needs a new voice. University needs new representation, and he officially has resigned. He mentioned in the video that other opportunities have been made available, and that he is discussing those with his family. Obviously, talking about Arkansas there, and we fully expect that he'll be the next head coach at Arkansas. So that drama is put to bed for now. The new drama now is, what does Kentucky do? And I was adamant yesterday that they should go after Danny Hurley. When you're Kentucky, I would consider Kentucky the best job in college basketball. When you consider the league that Kentucky is in, the money that runs through that league, the history, the resources, the passion, all of that combined together, I find Kentucky to be the greatest job. You want to argue that Kansas is better? I'll listen. You want to argue that North Carolina or Duke is better? I will listen. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just the way that I feel. It's a subjective thing anyway. And I think that teams in that position should flex their muscles and go get your coach. And I was talking about this with my dad yesterday. When LSU was in the market for a baseball coach, and I have some friends that are Tennessee fans, they were like, please don't take Vitello. Like, you're not going to take Vitello. And I said, look, here's the deal. We're LSU. We're LSU baseball. We determine who our coach is going to be. And in this way, we determine who your coach is going to be. It's either going to be Tony Vitello or it's not, because we're going to take him. That's the authority that I think LSU should wield in the college baseball coaching search world. And they've gone out the last 2 times and hired coaches that took lesser programs to Omaha multiple times. Kentucky, to me, should almost be able to name their guy. And so I think Danny Hurley last night was indirectly speaking to Kentucky a couple of different times, just kind of what I've gathered. Like, UConn's got college basketball runs through UConn. We've got all the resources that we need. Like, it sounded like a guy who was closing the door on Kentucky to me. So where do they turn next? And you've seen all the names. You've seen Nate Oates come up, and Nate Oates put out this thing on Twitter yesterday that said that he's committed to being in Alabama, and he's going to be, and it reminded me of Nick Saban saying, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. And I made a joke about that on Twitter. And I would love it if Nate Oates left left Alabama for Kentucky, because I think the next head coach at Alabama would do a far worse job than Nate Oates has done. But it sounds like he is kind of pushing that away at this point. So who's next? You've heard Scott Drew's name. Scott Drew has been at Baylor since 2003. He's been at Baylor since 2003. I was a sophomore in high school in 2003. And he's been there for a long time. He has been to the Elite Eight, looks like 4 different times. Obviously won the championship back in 2021. He has won at least 19 games every year since 2010. He's had a great run there at Baylor. Is that the guy that they want to hire? We'll see. Bruce Pearl is the guy that has won big at places that hadn't necessarily been basketball powers. He took over Tennessee in 2005, got them to the Sweet 16 3 different times, made the tournament every single year when he was at Tennessee, then obviously got in a little bit of trouble, took a couple of years off. Auburn has hired him, and they've been in the NCAA tournament every single year since his 4th year. Remember, he inherited a dumpster there. They went 4-14 in the SEC, 5-13 in the SEC, and then went 0-11 in the SEC, and there were some games vacated there. Before 2017, when they finally got in and they made the Final Four in 2019. I think Bruce Pearl would do a marvelous job at Kentucky. I think he would crank that thing up to 1,000, just like John Calipari did when he got there. I think that would be a really, really good hire. And I don't know if there's anything Auburn can do to keep Bruce Pearl in Auburn. But is that the guy that they want to hire? Billy Donovan's name keeps coming up. It's a different world in the NBA and college. In the NBA, you're doing a lot more traveling. Like, you are flying through the night. You're in hotels all the time. It's just the grind of the professional calendar. You don't have to recruit them. You don't have to work the transfer portal. You don't have to deal with boosters and NIL stuff. Wes Johnson didn't like the travel of Major League Baseball. That's why he left in the middle of a Major League Baseball season to come to live in Baton Rouge and stay here. He also wanted to be a head coach in college and thought this was the most direct way to do that. So I'm fascinated by what Kentucky decides to do here. I don't think they're going to hire Rick Pitino, even that's a funny thing to say. But I think that they're going to get a coach who is established, who has won maybe at multiple places at a really high level. I don't think Kentucky is hiring Nate Oates from Buffalo or Will Wade from VCU or Matt McMahon from Murray State or one of those deals. They're going to hire somebody at the top end of the sport, I think. I'm just curious to see who that's going to be. It's not going to be John Calipari as he is headed to Arkansas. I gave my thoughts on that on yesterday's show. I think it's a good hire for Arkansas because the floor is really, really high. I don't think he's going to replicate the big success he had at Kentucky early on in Arkansas. I think the game has changed. I think it's kind of passed him by, but he's still going to recruit really high-end high school players, and I think going to do a lot of winning toward the top of the Southeastern Conference in his time at Arkansas. But we'll see what Kentucky decides to do over the next week. I would imagine now that everyone's done coaching, they could wrap this thing up in fairly short order there in Lexington. We'll just have to see. I like when teams flex their financial muscles and show the blue blood that they are. I don't pull for Kentucky's basketball team, but I'm fascinated to see who it is that they hire. If you missed any of hour number one, catch it all on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can certainly find it. I recapped the national championship game from last night, little Brian Kelly sound. We chatted with Glenn West as well. We'll come back in hour number two. Got some NFL draft thoughts on Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, and we'll hear some sound from Jay Johnson as well. Come back after Sports Center. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. John Calipari made it official today. He's leaving Kentucky, but did not indicate his next move. Posted a video on X, said they've come to realize the last few weeks the Wildcats program probably needs to hear another voice. Kentucky did have a fair amount of success in Calipari's 15 seasons, but struggled in the NCAA tournament the last couple of years, with UConn's Dan Hurley and Alabama's Nate Oates saying they're staying put. There is an SEC coach Kentucky needs to call, advises ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg.
If it's not Coach Hurley and it's not Billy Donovan, the best fit for Kentucky, in my opinion, is Bruce Pearl. Because he brings all the energy, the passion, the ownership. He's a brilliant coach. He had success at Tennessee. He's had incredible success at Auburn.
Calipari's reportedly heading to Arkansas. NBA LeBron James and Anthony Davis questionable for the Lakers tonight against the Warriors, a key matchup for postseason positioning. LA's 9th in the West, Golden State a game and a half back in 10th. Baseball, Red Sox shortstop Trevor Story will undergo season-ending surgery on his shoulder on Friday.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Kennedy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you why one quarterback prospect who everyone loves will drop in the draft. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Some sports trivia tonight at 8:30. Very much looking forward to that. We got work to do here before we do that, so let's crank it up. We'll hear some sound from Jay Johnson's head coach's show last night as they get ready for McNeese tonight, and then a trip to Knoxville, Tennessee to play the Vols. We'll also chat with Sharif Ishak about the Saints and Pels at the bottom of the hour. But ESPN put out a little piece today from Matt Bowen, who's a staff writer, talking about the top prospects in this coming NFL draft, and he was ranking them by skills and traits. He was talking about the best. For example, going through quarterbacks, most accurate passer, strongest arm, quickest release, best pocket mobility, field vision, deep ball thrower, instinctive passer, decision maker, all these traits. Like, who's the best at this in the draft? And it got me thinking about Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. We know that oftentimes quarterbacks are compared against their draft class mates. How often were you comparing Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning there at that time? Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, Robert Griffin and Andrew Luck. Like, oftentimes you're compared to the guys that were in your draft class. It's why the Bears go nuts because they took Mitchell Trubisky when they could have had Patrick Mahomes. Okay, that's what we're dealing with here. And these two guys, I think, are destined to be kind of compared against one another. And it's interesting to look at a non-biased media member kind of discerning the skill sets of Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. For example, most accurate passer, he's got Jaden Daniels. Best field vision, Jaden Daniels. Best decision maker, Jaden Daniels. Best mechanics, Jaden Daniels. Best scrambler, Jaden Daniels. That's loud. To tell me that Jaden Daniels is the best scrambler in the class, has the best throwing mechanics, makes the best decisions, has the best vision, and is the most accurate. That is my dream quarterback. He's accurate. He's got great mechanics. When he needs to, he can move. He makes awesome decisions, has the best vision of seeing the field. Like, that is quarterback play. So what does he say about Caleb Williams in this story? Quickest release, Caleb Williams. Most instinctive passer, Caleb Williams. Best off-platform thrower, Caleb Williams. To me, it feels like Caleb Williams is a bigger risk than Jaden Daniels. There aren't a lot of guys that can do what Patrick Mahomes does. read none of the other ones. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers moves around a little bit and makes some weirder throws. But it's really just Mahomes that plays off script and from different arm angles and just does things that no one else in the sport does. Trying to mimic that is scary to me because it can bust. I'm not trying to compare Caleb Williams to Johnny Manziel directly. There are a lot of differences. But in terms of like that freewheeling style of play, like that's what Johnny wanted to do. And he did it so well in college, and that wasn't going to work in the NFL. Of course, if you're doing a steady diet of cocaine and never watch film or go to practice, it also doesn't work out. So it's not a perfect apples-to-apples comparison, but you get what I'm saying. Like, trying to do stuff off script against those dudes, like, you got to be some kind of special. And maybe Caleb Williams is. But I feel like if I'm making my investment here, which is what a quarterback is, you're basically sealing the fate of a general manager and a head coach when you draft a quarterback. Like, that's kind of your one shot to do this. Wouldn't you want the guy that's the most accurate, the best mechanics, the best vision, decision maker, and also, with a bonus, is the best scrambler? I mean, how often do you get a quarterback who's the best at all the things that win in the pocket and is also the best when he gets out of the pocket? If you would have told me this time last year this is the conversation I would have been having, I would have been like, probably not, dude. Probably not. But we watched Jaden Daniels Thanksgiving last year, and he almost never had a bad play. It's a different level up there, and it's an adjustment for everybody. But the more I think about it, and realizing my inherent bias, I'm not too big to admit that, I think Jaden Daniels is a better draft pick. And I don't think it's crazy to say that. We've heard Dan Orlovsky say that. And what I'm reading in this piece on ESPN from Matt Bowen suggests that. If you took their names and their statistics away, you took the Heisman trophies away, the wins and losses away, their names away, their programs away, and you just told me you can either have the guy with the quickest release who's the best off schedule, off platform, and has instincts, or you can have the guy who makes the best decisions, reads the field the best, is the most accurate, and is the best scrambler. I'm taking the guy that does the conventional things because I just feel like that's easier to bet on. Maybe they're both great, maybe they're both busts. We won't know. Time's our only guide here. But as I think about it more and more, like I feel like I'm taking Jaden Daniels. Maybe they think he's too skinny. I don't know. But I like those traits more than Caleb Williams. We'll see. He continued on, and I think a couple of guys that got some real love that you'd imagine from LSU. Most explosive pass catcher in the draft, Malik Neighbors. The write-up here says Neighbors can float past defenders on slot fades and immediately shift gears after the catch to eat up grass in the open field. He's an explosive mover with big play potential at every single level of the field. Neighbors had 34 catches for 20 or more yards last season. That was the most in the country. That is Malik's game. He's got incredible speed, incredible ability to leave the ground and control his body, game-breaking ability after the catch. Like he's explosive. He's not the fastest. They told that's Xavier Worthy because he ran the fastest time in the history of the combine. But in terms of just being explosive after the catch, Malik is that dude. And then you got to throw some love to Brian Thomas as well, the best ball tracker in the draft class. Brian Thomas, the write-up says Thomas had the third-level separation ability and ball tracking skills to create explosive plays in one-on-one matchups, helping him average 17 yards per catch in 2023. And on throws of 20 or more yards in the air, Thomas had 12 touchdowns to lead the country. I think that's talking about running down the deep ball and making sure you can catch it in stride. Maybe it's tracking the ball in the air and going up and making a play, high point and things. He did that in Gainesville a couple of years ago and certainly has the ability to do that. I think Malik's every bit as good at him at doing that. But Brian Thomas in the deep ball is obviously really, 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 really good. And so that's the LSU representation in this piece that was written about the best traits in the NFL draft. I was looking for some thoughts on Olu Fashanu at the offensive line because it feels like the Saints have had him mocked a lot of different times, but didn't have him listed anywhere on this. Oh, no, sorry. Best offensive line lower body quickness, Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle, Penn State. When you're that big and you got the best quickness in the draft, that's a pretty good thing to have. Maybe the Saints can get Olu Fashanu there in the first round of the draft. But those LSU dudes, fascinated to see where those guys do actually end up. I think I'm willing to make my claim that I think Jaden Daniels can be a better player than Caleb Williams. There are a lot of things that go into that in terms of organization and what structure you put around him and the resources and the talent that you surround your quarterback with. Some are set up for success, some are set up for failure. We'll see what happens with those two guys. But I just, the traits, to me, feel like the safer play is the guy who does it a little bit more traditionally. We'll see. That's a thought from ESPN.com. Let's shift gears and go to baseball. When we come back, we'll hear some thoughts from Jay Johnson on his coach's show. Tough times for LSU baseball right now. We'll hear from the head man coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about LeBear's here in Baton Rouge. Such an awesome place to get on by and watch the game. You can visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and all the hockey playoff action. Got the biggest screens, the best food and drink, plus giving away Penn Cash bonuses and prizes to Penn Play Rewards members. If you're not a member, no big deal. You can join today by downloading and registering for the Penn Play app from the App Store. That's the Penn Play app from the App Store. You can unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in Penn Cash. All this and more. Lake LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino, your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call
Charles Hannegriff. Join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill, Lee at Nicholson. Scott Rabelais joins us from the Masters, plus we'll hear from Wes Reynolds and Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Pluckers brings you our Tuesday shows each and every week. They also bring you our baseball breakdowns all season long, and this is one of those. Of course, Tigers in a world of hurt right now. 3-9 in league play with a trip to Tennessee on the horizon. They'll play McNeese tonight at 6:30 at the box. A little tune-up before they head to Rocky Top. Jay Johnson had his weekly coaches show last night, Chris Blair and Jay Johnson over at TJ Ribs. And usually I try to kind of stay on one topic with sound bites. We did that with the defensive line back in the first segment of the show. But this is more or less just kind of a grab bag of some of the things that Jay had to say last night, and I'll just kind of react to them. There's not a lot of flow to it, but we can still just kind of comment on some of the things that Jay had to say. The first is talking about the players and playing at LSU and the expectation level and the passion level that surrounds this place.
I think it's different, playing at LSU, and that's a good thing because you have so many people that care about our program, that care about the players in our program, that want to see the players in our program succeed. But if they're that passionate about that side of it, they're going to be passionate, when a player or the team is not playing well. And trust me, I'd way rather have a little bit of adversity, criticism, and have 13,000 people show up and support us like our fans did this weekend. And it was a great environment. The crowd was phenomenal on Friday night, and really disappointed we didn't close that game out.
Yeah, it's just part of it, and it's why LSU is going to continue to get a lot of players that show up. And we've heard Thatcher Hurd and Gage Jump both talk about the fact that they wanted to come to the SEC. They were great high school prospects, had offers to go just about everywhere. They ended up at UCLA, which is a phenomenal program on the field, but no one cares and no one shows up. And they want to play under the brightest lights. And you get a chance to do that here at LSU. But with that awesome privilege comes the downside of it. And fans are going to get cranky when things don't go super well. It's just the nature of it. And I think that makes things really tough on 20-year-olds when you realize that there are a lot of people here that are not thrilled with the way things are going. It's just not a lot of fun. And I wouldn't imagine that things are super fun within the LSU baseball program right now based on where they've put themselves after 4 weeks of conference play. A question that has been asked a lot, I asked Glenn West this question an hour ago and said, why not go to Griffin Herring as a starter? He's been one of the two guys on the pitching staff that you feel like you can really trust. Luke Holman's been very good, and then Griffin Herring's been really good out of the bullpen. Would you maybe think about giving him a start? You're getting run ruled every single Sunday. Maybe Griffin Herring's a guy you might want to put in the starting rotation.
You want to win the ones that you can. And if you look at the game on Friday and Saturday and how it matriculated, if he's not sitting there, you don't feel that great right now about winning that game on Thursday. I've always, had a lot of success with having one of your better pitchers come out of the bullpen. He's done a good job of that. We've won all three SEC wins were games that he's come in and had extended relief, and the other one was the game that we got to extra innings against Arkansas, where he hit his pitch count at 71. I think he threw that game. So if you go 71 pitches or 75, if he's really rolling, that only gives you 5 innings, and then you still have to figure out 4+ innings of what you're going to do in the game that he starts. I'm not taking that off the table that we might not do that at some point, but right now, when the guy's pitched in all 3 games that you've won in league play, I think that's where he has his most value.
That goes back to my segment yesterday. If you missed it, that's the biggest issue right now with this team is they only have one way to win. It's Luke Holman starting, the offense scratching some runs early, and Griffin Herring going the rest of the way. They don't blow anybody out and have guys down the line in the bullpen that can get you enough outs. They don't have 3 starters that work into the 7th inning to lessen the impact of the bullpen. They can only win when Holman goes out there and pitches well and Herring closes. Every other avenue has been unsuccessful. That's why 2 of the games you've won have been Holman to Herring. In the other 10 games, you're 1-9. So you can't take Herring out of that role and put him in as a starter, because then you don't have a bullpen guy you trust after Holman comes out, and you don't have anybody to come in after Herring has to leave the game. When your pitching staff is this compromised, you've got to do everything you can to win an individual game. And that means that you're in a disadvantage in the next 2 games. If they can find a way on Friday of this week to have Holman go 7 2/3 and be up 9-1, and you can go to, somebody else to get a couple outs, and then Gage Jump gives you 7 innings of shutout baseball in game 2, and you're up 7 runs in that one. Yeah, you may be able to go to Griffin Herring early into game 3 and try to impact it positively that way. But right now, you got to use him to win a game, because all the other guys come in and throw gas on the fire. Nate Ackenhausen is the guy you really felt like you could trust, but I talked about this yesterday. Like, he's given up a homer in his last 3 outings. It's not all his fault that LSU's losing games, but it's not like he's been the guy that we thought he was going to be early in the season. I mean, that outing he had at Southeastern, when they took that lead late and he came in and just blew them away, 3 straight strikeouts, that's impressive stuff. But, he didn't have it in the game this weekend, and Jay Johnson spoke about Nate Ackenhausen.
I feel like Nate's one of our best competitors, and I think had we been able to get a little deeper into the game without having to bring him in the inning before, would have given him a better chance of success. But that wasn't the case, and a guy hits a 2-run home run late in the game, you have to tip your hat, and that's what they do. They didn't give in many at-bats with 2 strikes, and that hit by pitch was really the difference, because if it's a solo home run, it's a tie game, but that hit by pitch made it where they took the lead.
Just anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I tweeted that picture of Murphy's Law out on Twitter during that game on Friday night. Jay spoke to the level of pitching that they're seeing game in, game out in the Southeastern Conference.
It's very uncharacteristic. One of the things we want to do is do a good job against a starter and get into the bullpen. I will say, across the board in my 3 years, and we're only 4 weekends into this thing, I do think the pitching talent in the SEC is as good as it's been. McIlvain, the left-hander that they brought in late in Friday's game, up to 96 miles with a fastball, good breaking ball, and made it tough on us. And we had a couple chances, and it's just stringing that third at bat together to get a run or 2 across the board. Like, we're going to have to do that to take some pressure off our pitching staff until those guys pitch well enough to finish a game without the offense doing that.
Yeah, I mean, the offense has not been a complete disaster. Like, you hit a couple homers off Hagen Smith and got him out of the game. Like, you knocked Cade Fisher all around the yard in game 1 against Florida. I thought they did a really good job in the first 2 games against tough starters. I mean, Grayson Murray on Thursday throws 100, and you knocked him around. Bryce Cunningham's been great for Vanderbilt this year, and you did a pretty good job against him. Now, you settle in and got it handed to you a little bit on Saturday, but that's Carter Holton's one of the best pitchers in the country. The offense hasn't been terrible. They just haven't been as consistent as you might like. And I mentioned that game that Carter Holton pitched, and Jay spoke yesterday to the disadvantage they were at when they got to the park on Saturday and the way that game kind of showed up.
I have a different opinion of this Saturday's game. I think Carter Holton was outstanding against us and made it really, really difficult against us, and we did not match up. Like, the pitching that we put out there did not match up with the pitcher we were facing, and they beat us. They beat us up on Saturday. And as far as, the mental game and all of that, that's, again, we want to be strong at that, but if you don't bring it, that's not an excuse to win. So I don't think it's relevant. I think Vanderbilt beat us up on Saturday.
Look, that's something that I whiffed on really bad with this baseball team. I mean, absolutely whiffed. I thought they would have a weekend rotation that would match up with everyone. I thought that Thatcher Hurd, Luke Coleman, and Gage Jump every single time out in 30 SEC games would go out there and be really competitive against the other team. And now all of a sudden, Holman has elevated his game and I think is really good. Jump has been very average in SEC play, and Hurd's lost his rotation spot. And it all of a sudden manifests that you're going out there against Carter Holton in a game 3, and you're throwing Javen Coleman and hoping to get 8 outs. That's just a reality. And Carter Holton's just significantly better than Javen Coleman. And then you go to Christian Little, and you go to Justin Lohr, and you go to some of these guys that have just not been high-level SEC arms at this point, and Vanderbilt's are. And that's the result. You get your butt kicked. And it's not all that much fun. Is there any way that this bullpen can improve? Can these guys get better? Well, Jay talked about that last night.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. When you're struggling, I think simplifying is a really good way to go about getting to execution. And so kind of my directive this week has been like, okay, what are the 1 or 2 things that each pitcher does well? And let's really focus on being good at those. If we can't execute a certain thing that's good to get the hitter out, let's just stick with the pitcher's strengths, maybe split the plate a little bit more so we're not chasing the count to where we have to give in and throw a fastball. Those types of things. It really comes down to execution. So picking what the guys are good at and really having them focus on those couple things. Now, when you talk about the starters, it's a little more complex than that. You have to have a third pitch. I think as a staff as a whole, really developing third pitches, change-ups as a way to get hitters off the fastball is going to be really critical for guys' success going forward. And that's baseball thing. That's not like an LSU thing. That's pitching and winning pitching.
Developing a third pitch in the middle of a season is really difficult to do. That's something that you'd really like to do in the summer and then into the fall, where you can mess with it a little bit and make some mistakes and get a feel for it. Trying to create that in the middle of a season is going to be very difficult. I don't know who he's talking about or what pitches we're talking about there. But look, I don't know what the guys do really well. That's something for Nate Yeskie to figure out. LSU's pitching staff did improve last year as time went on. There was a time in the middle of SEC season where it was Paul Skeens and what else? Ty Floyd was pretty mediocre, kind of up and down. Thatcher Hurd was in the rotation, out of the rotation. You lost Chase Shorts and Garrett Edwards. Riley Cooper's batting average against was .350 at one point. And then all of a sudden you get to Omaha and Ackenhausen figures it out. And Guidry emerges as a guy that you could trust. And Herring had some really good outings. And you obviously got great stuff from Ty Floyd. And it got better. It needs to get a lot better. And I'll tell you, this is not the weekend that I would expect massive improvement, because Tennessee rakes and that ballpark is tiny. So it's going to be a challenge for LSU on the mound. The offense needs to pack its lumber and get ready to go, because you're going to have to get into a slugging match with some of these with Tennessee at least a couple times this weekend. We'll see how that goes. But that's our sound from Jay Johnson last night at the Jay Johnson Show. Our baseball breakdowns brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar, award-winning jumbo chicken wings. I'm partial myself to the garlic parm. I also like the honey barbecue. I'll do some medium as well. Breggie's Creole Crush, always a great option. A little bit of heat, a lot of great flavor. Get on by Pluckers for a late lunch today, or grab some dinner, or come do some sports trivia tonight. We'll be out there at 8 o'clock at the Nicholson location. We'll take a timeout. Come back with Sharif Ishaq on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Platinum Window Tint. Platinum Window Tint LLC is the website. Look, we know that getting in your vehicle is not all that pleasant once the weather heats up. It's still not going to be a 5-star resort experience if you get into a car that's been spitting out all day in the middle of June. But you can lessen the heat that builds up in that car by tinting the windows on your vehicle, and they're happy to do that for you at Platinum Window Tint. It's not just vehicles, though. If you're a business owner, you've got a lot of window exposure, and those AC bills go through the roof coming up in the summer, Platinum Window Tint is happy to come out and tint the windows at your business. If you're a homeowner, you've got a lot of windows. Same issue for you. A lot of money going out the door for those AC bills in the summer. Tint your windows. Platinum Window Tint can do it. Check out their services online and request a quote. Look at their gallery of photos. It's all there online at PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com. It's Platinum Window Tint at PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $22,500 off the new 23 Ram 1500 SCA truck. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $22,500 off the new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart...
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. LSU back on the practice field. We'll get you football practice report. And baseball Tigers trying to get right against McNeese. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Little behind the scenes information for you, the listener here. Alondra doing audio production today, and she calls the guest. We're about to talk to Sharif, and she calls Sharif, and she's just blasting him, just giving it to him because the Spurs beat the Pels back last week. So I'm curious, Sharif, are you going to be okay?
Well, they got five championships. I said national. They got 5 NBA titles. The Pelicans, I'm not even sure, have 5 NBA playoff appearances.
Alondra, didn't they teach you in producer school to be nice to the guests?
They did teach me that, actually.
Well,
to be fair, I answered, and he said something, and I was like, what?
I said it's been a disastrous week, and you probably don't know which team I'm talking about.
Yeah, well.
I was thinking Pels.
There's a lot of issues.
All of it, yeah.
We're going to talk about a lot of things here. Sharif, let's start with the New Orleans Saints. I want to go a little bit big picture here and talk about Derek Carr. Now that we've seen 1 year of the Derek Carr era, we know about the injuries. We know about the offensive coordinator. We know about Michael Thomas drama and all this that went into the offense. Where's your confidence level in Derek Carr as we sit here in April?
Well, there's so many moving parts to this question. Derek Carr himself, offensive coordinator, offensive staff, offensive line, and you got rid of the players that you so-called don't want on the team, and Michael Thomas, because you think he's a distraction. So now it's a clean slate for everyone, including Derek Carr. My confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say 6.5 right now.
I thought you were going to say something closer to 4. So that's better than I thought you were going to say. Is there some more confidence that comes with the way that he played once it felt like he got a little healthier towards the end of the season?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I said 6.5. He got hot there at the end of the season. They started to figure out the offense a little bit more, figure out the players and the coaching. It's going to have to be obviously much higher than 6.5 in order for them to make the playoffs, because 6.5 might be the wins I may give them for this upcoming season, because I don't think they're going to be that good. But he could prove us all wrong. But yeah, the confidence level is mid right now for me. I consider 6.5 mid.
Would the confidence level be higher if I put the Saints 2009 offensive line in front of him?
Yeah, absolutely. If you gave me the entire 2009 team, I'd say it's like a 9. I mean, because you got playmakers all over the place.
I guess that's the crux of the situation. It's like, how much of this is that Derek Carr's not that good, and how much of it is just the ecosystem that they've put him in is not good enough?
Look, I feel like here's the number one thing with Derek Carr. I think he has to take accountability for some of the problems that happen. You got to stop being passive aggressive, where you're kind of blaming others and not yourself. I think that's where it starts with Derek, and you saw a lot of that last year. Little subtle shots that some of the teammates made, and sometimes he's a little, trying to dance around questions with the media, and it kind of came off as disingenuous at times. Once he starts taking accountability, I think things might change for him. I think he has to buy into the city, has to buy into the fan base in order for them to like him. I mean, plain and simple. Yeah, winning cures everything, but you also have to do the other stuff to make fans happy.
How do you think he's received in the locker room right now?
I think it's, I think the players say the right things, but if you want me to answer honestly, I think there's a split there. I just think there's some players are like, Derek Carr, I'm not really feeling it. And some guys are like, yeah, he's our leader, we like him. Yeah, I think it's 50-50. I truly do think it's 50-50. Obviously, Michael Thomas hated Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I hate to use the word hated. He hated Derek Carr. And that's, he's gone now. Maybe it changes. Maybe the guys, when you get rid of the distractions and the guys who don't, get along with the teammates and quarterbacks and coaches, you get rid of those players, maybe things get better. But if you're asking me based on what I saw last season, I'd say split 50-50. There's some guys who don't like him and some guys who do. But that's natural. You're not going to like everybody. That's how us humans are. You're not supposed to like everyone. That's just not how it works.
We'll see. And we'll get into some more Saints talk as the draft approaches here later on this month. All right, let's talk Pel, Sharif. They got 4 to play. They had lost 4 in a row, and they're going to Phoenix, and you figure Devin Booker's going to drop another 50, and then all of a sudden they played really well, and they got an 8-point win. CJ played great. And how surprised were you at that result on Sunday?
If that game was played in the Smoothie King Center, it wouldn't have happened that way. Devin Booker would have dropped 50 points a game, because he only drops 50 points whenever he plays here at the Blender. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have Zion and Jose play. You start to see how much, of a difference maker that Jose Alvarado is. Zion's good. But having a guy like a pest, we like to call him a pest in a positive way, come off the bench, give you the spark, stick up for your teammate. You saw how Devin Booker and Dyson Daniels were shoving each other, and Jose stepped in the middle of it. People see that, and people feed off of that. And that's why they call him the spark plug off the bench. And I'm not surprised. CJ was hot, had the 7 threes. Zion, I would say his best game in his career. I know he's played a lot of games and some good ones, but when we talk about both ends of the court, the 5 blocks, career high, just the intensity he brought into that game. Yeah, that's those 3 guys are the big reasons why they won that game. I mean, you get that on this road trip, which I wouldn't be shocked if they won all the road games, because their home is the road, and it wouldn't shock me at all. It really is that way with this team. it's mind-blowing how they're better on the road than at home.
Key tonight against Portland?
Look, the other night I was completely shocked when they lost to the Spurs. They're an 11.5-point favorite. I think they're like 13.5 or 14-point favorites. They will have zero excuses now. Like, you absolutely cannot even mess around and lose another game like that. I mean, to avoid, to at least have a chance at the 6th seed. Like, if you look at the Suns, Hunt, they're playing the Clippers, the Kings, and the Wolves. And I believe those last 3 games are on the road for the Suns. So the Pels have a chance. No more messing around. No more playing around. You have to play, like Willie says, as cliche as it is, they got to play 4 quarters in every single game. And I like them tonight, and I do. I do think that was a wake-up call against the Spurs.
I don't feel like this is a very fair question to ask, but I just want your thoughts on it. Like, is Willie Green in good shape?
He's not going anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, they've increased wins every single year.
Yeah.
I mean, 42 last year, 46 and counting this year. Not going anywhere. Now, could there be players who are gone? Could there be new players? Yeah. I mean, everyone's like, let's see B.I. and Zion play together. And they're still a playing team and a healthy, pretty much healthy season for both guys. And you're still a playing team now. Western Conference is stacked, and almost every team in the play-in and on up is at least 10 games above 500, close to it, if not at least 7 games above 500. Something could change, Hunt. I mean, look, the whole saying the definition of insanity, doing it over and over again and hoping for a different result. If it doesn't happen this year, something has to change. One of the 2 guys might go, and it might be Brandon Ingram. That's just me speculating. No one has said anything, but you have to make some kind of change if it doesn't work. You can't get into the playoffs and have some kind of success.
Any chance B.I. plays Sunday at home?
So he's not playing tonight. I thought maybe he would play either the Sacramento Golden State game or a back-to-back, one of the 2 games. If he doesn't play one of those 2 games, it may not be until the play-in or the playoffs to me. Like, if they have to play next Tuesday or Wednesday in the play-in, I think that's when he might return. Okay. But I said short-term it was working out. Long-term, they need him back.
We'll see. Pels at Portland tonight, 9 o'clock. You want to watch it? Come on by Pluckers. You can do that, and we'll be playing some sports trivia and watching the Pels as well. Sharif, we appreciate the time. We'll talk next week, and we'll know what the Pels' fate is.
Hopefully I'm sitting here not talking about a horrific playing game for a 3rd straight season.
We'll just have to see. Cheer up, Sharif. Yep. It'll be okay.
All right. I'll try.
He's Sharif Ishak, WDSU down in New Orleans. Jordan, where's your confidence level with the Pels tonight against Portland?
My confidence level is very high.
Good.
I'm using the Jimmy Ott fade the team that's on a long road trip.
Yeah.
In their first game back home. So shout out to Jimmy Ott. I'm fading.
What's the number on that game?
It should be pretty. I don't know the numbers. I'm a terrible gambler. So I
can get that real quick for you. The Pelicans tonight on the road at Portland are 13.5-point favorite. That is a monster number.
It's scary. It's a scary number.
That is a huge number.
It's a little too big for my liking.
In an NBA game. So hopefully they go out there and play really well. The question I want to ask you, Jordan, that the Zion that we saw, especially defensively in that game against Phoenix,
yes.
Is that something we should expect every night?
Is
that reasonable?
You should. I don't see why. To be real, okay, if I'm going to be honest with you, defense is what I'm looking for, but I need him more on the boards. Okay. Seeing him that he had a double-double last game, I don't think asking for 7 to 8 rebounds a game is crazy. And
6'9" and can jump out of the gym.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would imagine you can get some rebounds.
That's not crazy. But the reason I say it shouldn't be crazy, because if you look at Zion's stats, he'll be like 30 points, 4 rebounds.
Yeah.
28 points, 2 boards. That's unexcusable. So, yeah, defense, I like that. But we need you on the boards, man. We're already small up in the front court. So, yeah.
Pels at Portland tonight, 9 o'clock tip-off. We'll see what they can do. We'll come back and close things out. You're listening to Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric. Love telling you about Boudreaux's Electric because they can offer you something that's so awesome. It's peace of mind. You can be home or at work and know that the power is not going to fail for you. If you work at home and can't have these afternoon summer storms coming through, knocking out the power and making you unproductive, Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. They're a certified Generac dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. Neil and Melissa have been running things for 40 years with Boudreaux Electric, and they can help you, whether you're a business owner, like I said, or a homeowner. Give yourself the peace of mind that the power is never going to go out. The Gonzales location is about to open. It is coming very soon, and you won't want to miss that. We'll tell you about some of the great deals they've got going on. But give them a call right now, 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, and get that Generac generator installed at your home or business today from my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
On Wednesday's OTB, did the Pelicans manage to get the must-win against the Blazers? And did LSU baseball bounce back in the midweek? Plus, continue to get you ready for Saturday's spring game. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
That is a top 5 song in the history of music right there.
I got you.
Semi-Charmed Life, Third Eye Blind. My God, the 90s, what a special time. I was jamming out to some Goo Goo Dolls Pandora earlier this weekend.
Were you?
He was sleeping, and I was like cleaning up, and I was cranking out Third Eye Blind, Goo Goo Dolls.
So we have this debate on Off the Bench all the time of like music streaming services because Taylor uses like YouTube music, which what even? But everybody uses Spotify, but Jake and I use Apple Music. But we were making fun of people that use Pandora. So why are you still using Pandora Hunt?
It functions.
At least tell me it's ad free.
No.
Oh my god.
We just sit through quick ads, like 10 seconds. We're good.
That is so terrible.
Y'all are just groaning. I feel like the old man here in the room.
Yes.
It's fine.
Side note.
It's not as if it's happening all the time.
One time, Hunt couldn't get to his folder. He didn't know how to get to his folder, so I had to email him a file.
I still can't do that. No, I can't figure out anything in this. I don't know how to do anything. Like all the buttons that are in front of y'all, couldn't tell you what. Not one button over there. I figure it out. I don't want to. I'd rather just sit here and talk about a winning baseball team, which I don't have currently. But we'll see if they can win. We can see if we'll see if they can win.
You're not in luck.
We'll see if we can win tonight. LSU and McNeese at 6:30. If you're gonna listen, you can do so on Eagle 98.1. The pregame will start up at 6 o'clock. It'll be Doug Thompson and Chris Blair on the call. McNeese has not been a very good offensive team this year, so hopefully LSU's pitching staff can hold them down. They can swing the bats okay. Nothing they do in the midweek at this point is going to make anybody feel any better. Certainly you can make them feel worse if you do play like they did last Monday against Southern, but you got to take care of your business against McNeese and then find a way to go up to Knoxville and figure something out. But we'll be reacting to LSU baseball tomorrow on our Wednesday show. All right, Lonzo, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, USC defensive tackle Bear Alexander is reportedly entering the transfer portal. The former five-star will be in Baton Rouge this summer. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
This is a former five-star, as you mentioned. He was at USC this year and is a guy that was pretty good at USC. Again, I broke down LSU's defensive line at the top of the show and mentioned his name in there. This is the type of guy that I would love for them to add. I don't know how available former five-stars are. I don't know how available all conference potential players are in this spring transfer portal window. This is all kind of new to us as to what this is going to look like. But this would be a monster get because he's got great size. You could plug him right there next to Jacoby and Guillory, and all of a sudden you feel a little bit more functional than you do currently. And so I would love it if Bear Alexander did enter the transfer portal and did come to LSU. We'll just have to see if that's something that can happen.
Red Sox pitcher Nick Pivetta lands on injured list with an elbow strain. Does another big-time pitcher with an elbow injury call for a change? Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I don't know if there's a rule that there's going to be able to put in, but we've got to try to figure something out here.
Take the pitch clock back out?
I don't think it's a pitch clock either.
To be fair, me either, but...
Spider tag, bring it back.
You can't tell guys to stop throwing as hard as they can. But maybe we can figure this out to an extent as to what is the root cause of all of this. Is it too many breaking balls as a 12-year-old? Is it too much velocity from relief pitchers? Is it pitching too often? Is there something we can point to that's going to help keep elbows intact? Or are we just destined to have every pitcher in the sport at some point or another miss an entire season because they've got to get their elbow carved on? I don't know. It's just devastating when you see that it happens and you know that guy's not going to be a factor for over a year for your baseball team, whether it's LSU here or you're dealing with it with Chase Shores and Jaden Newt's just coming back, or it's guys in the major leagues that are missing some time. It's such a just devastating thing to have guys miss that much time. It's so much different than a basketball player breaking a finger or something where you're back in 5-6 weeks. This is a year that you've got to sit out and deal with it, and it's just so common. It sucks.
Tiger Woods said today that if everything aligns, he can win one more Masters. Take it or leave it. I feel like that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, I'll take it. I will bet against him winning another Masters. I think his body has failed him, which is devastating. There was a Twitter feed that was firing off Tiger Woods stats earlier this weekend, and I was just enthralled by them. There was an 8-year span where he won more tournaments than he finished outside the top 10. There's stats about that all the time. He is the greatest golfer who ever lived, but his body has just failed him. Now, if there's one tournament he could figure it out and win, it's probably the Masters, because it's so dependent on course knowledge, and he understands how to play that thing like the back of his hand, and that would be the one. But again, he can't really walk all that well. He can't hit it as far as a lot of these guys anymore, and he doesn't get to practice because his body's broken down. So if everything aligns and he does everything well, he might be able to do it. But I'm not betting against him against these young guns. He gave us his Jack Nicklaus in '86 moment with the 2019 Masters. We got to see that one more time. I think we are done with that era of Tiger Woods golf, unfortunately. But we'll see. He'll play this weekend in the Masters. I'll give you my Masters picks coming up tomorrow.
The only golfer I know is Jordan Spieth.
Okay,
What
he's
do we?
from Texas.
What do we think about Jordan Spieth?
He played okay over the weekend.
Because he has a Masters.
He
win,
did. He won the
Yeah.
Masters in 2015, and then he gagged it away in 2016. Hit it into the water on 12. I was flying to Mexico during that final round and landed in the airport, and I figured that Spieth had won and turned and go, Danny Willett? What? I never heard of Danny Willett. He won the Masters. Yeah, but Spieth will always be in the mix at Augusta because he's really good there. But he hits it all over the planet. So we'll see. But I'm a big Jordan Spieth fan, so I hope I'll be pulling for him this weekend. Him and Sam Burns are kind of my two guys that I pull for.
I know Sam Burns too because he was LSU. Yeah,
he went to LSU.
Yeah.
Shreveport guy.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll do it for Take It or Leave It, and that'll do it for our Tuesday show. I hope to see you out at Pluckers tonight. They bring you our Tuesday shows, and we'll have sports trivia at 8:30. If you missed any of the show, you can catch it on demand. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.